we ask you to stand up and offer the House. This House believes that UCL is not complicit in acts of terrorism.
I'm very pleased to argue in favour of the motion. This House believes that UCL is not complicit in acts of terrorism. It's an important debate and it's a sensitive topic, and that's already been mentioned. What is this debate about and what it's not about? This debate is not about the rights and the wrongs of what Umar Farouk did or did not do. Plainly, the killing of large numbers of people on an aircraft, mass murder, is not acceptable in any circumstances. We're not getting that issue. What we're debating is the function of a university and the responsibility of a university in times of real threat and real challenge. Addressing these kinds of issues requires us to deal with some definitional issues. The title includes the word complicity. Complicity has a meaning. I'm a lawyer, I'm not going to take the legal meaning, but I'll use the legal meaning to explore and set in your minds what it is you should be thinking about as you address the debate. Basically, complicity requires three elements to be met. Firstly, there has to be a knowledge on the part of the person or the institution, in this case UCL, that wrongdoing was taking place. Illegality, in this case. Secondly, there has to be a contribution by way of a failure, or a failure to prevent, or active assistance. And third, the active assistance, or the failure to prevent it, has to have a substantial effect on the actors concerned. If those conditions are not met, in general terms, not just in legal terms, then the issue of complicity, which is a big word, implies responsibility, cannot possibly be satisfied. That's the context. What about facts? Well, facts are important, just as legal terms and definitions are important. We don't know the full facts, and we should not prejudge the outcome of the full facts. What we do know at this point is that there is no evidence whatsoever that UCL as an institution, or any person associated with UCL as an institution, had any degree of knowledge that this individual, in any of his activities, was engaged in wrongdoing such as would lead to the likely conclusion that he was about to blow himself up on a plane. In fact, there's a timing element, namely that the time spent at UCL was some period before, apparently, the degree of radicalization of this individual. What we do know, however, because it's reported on the front page of the New York Times this morning, is that in November, the American intelligence authorities, long after this man was at UCL, have now confirmed that they learned from a communications intercept of Al-Qaeda followers in Yemen that a man with exactly the same name as this man had volunteered for a coming operation and was on his way to Yemen. To put it in the simplest terms, if you oppose this motion, then logically, the conclusion you have to reach is that the CIA and the American intelligence authorities must also be complicit. That cannot possibly be right. It cannot possibly be right. And that raises the fundamental question, what is the function of a university in Britain? Now, I teach at law faculty. I'm acutely aware of the responsibilities that we all have and the current threat. I was in New York on September 11th teaching at NYU. I saw for myself the direct consequences. I know people who were killed in the UCL bombing that happened on July the 7th, 2005. I'm acutely aware of individuals who were directly affected by these terrible acts. But I opposed vigorously the idea I, as an academic, as the then Prime Minister and Home Secretary wanted, should engage in reporting of what you do and say in my classroom. Now, plainly, any institution, any community, has a responsibility to keep an eye out. When a line is crossed, when an individual engages in certain acts which indicate that he or she may be about to engage in a criminal activity, activity. It is often not a responsible action or a right to remain silent. But it's quite another thing to expect universities to be turned into places where adults, we're not talking about school children, everyone involved in this story is an adult, okay, has a degree of autonomy and sovereignty and responsibility. And we need to be very careful about going down the road of turning universities into places.
Do you think that universities have no role in pastoral care at all then?
No, I think universities have a very important role in pastoral care. There's an important distinction to be drawn between pastoral care on the one hand and snooping on what students do and do not get up to on the other hand. That's the crucial issue. And I think that it is vitally important at this moment that we keep our eye on the big picture. Universities must remain places in which everyone in my classroom, atheist, Jew, Muslim, Christian, feels entirely free to express her view or his view without for a moment imagining that I, in that classroom, somehow have an institutional role reporting back on what is said and what is being written and what is going on. That cannot possibly be the situation we run to. And if you oppose this motion, you effectively draw us in that direction. And so, by way of conclusion, I would put it simply like this. If you oppose this motion, you are consigning academic institutions, UCL and others, to that particular place. And if that happens, they who seek to do us serious harm, as George Kennan put it in a famous telex in 1947 in relation to the Soviet threat, they will have caused us to become like those who seek to do us harm. And so I invite you to support this motion strongly and unanimously. Thank you.